All right, so today we're looking at Indian's ultimate sport bike slash rally bike, depending on the version you get, of course. This is the 2023 Indian FTR, and this specifically is the sport model. So there's now 4 models of the Indian FTR. They've been making this bike since 2019, and I actually reviewed one last year. But today I'm going to tell you about all the changes that they've put into the bike, what I like, what I don't like about the FTR, who I think it's best suited for, and also I'm going to take it out on the road. I'm going to get a little urban riding in there, a little bit of curves, at least the best curves I can show you here in the low country. And also I'm going to take it on the interstate too. I didn't do that with last year's FTR, so this year I want to see what it does on the interstate for a little while. All of this is big thanks to American Biker here in Latson, South Carolina. As always, big thanks to these guys, man. If you need an Indian FTR, a used Harley, a new Indian Chieftain, Challenger, whatever, make sure you come talk to Rob at American Biker. Let's go ahead and talk about the features and what makes the Indian FTR what it is. All right, so some basic specs here. You have a 522-pound motorcycle with a 30.7-inch seat height. So for somebody like your boy, I ain't flat-footing this bike, not a chance. So putting one leg down whenever you come to a stop, your left leg, this will teach you really quickly how to do that. Because like I said, there ain't no way I'm flat-footing it. But at the same time, it's light enough where you can move it around easily, not like a big touring bike. You have a 6-speed transmission and a liquid-cooled 1200cc motor. So it's pushing 120 horsepower and 87 foot-pounds of torque. LEDs all the way around. You have that cool little halo that shines whenever you turn the bike on. And then, of course, whenever you start it, you get the low beams, high beams there. So starting up front, you have the inverted front forks. This has the ZF Zax fully adjustable suspension here. On the rally version, you're actually going to get the Öhlins fully adjustable suspension, but that one also comes with the carbon fiber package and all of that. Dual disc up front, 320 millimeter rotors, and dual Brembo calipers, 4-piston calipers at that. So the braking system has been upgraded, although I'll find out more about that once I actually get on the road. Of course, on this bike, you have ABS, you have the lean sensing technology, you have wheelie mitigation. And when you want to turn that off and on, you actually go from your different ride modes. So you have rain, standard, and then sport mode. So once you click sport mode, wheelie mitigation is off and you can pretty much do whatever you want to with the motorcycle at that point. Traction control, of course, if you turn that off, that too is going to turn off wheelie mitigation. You have the FTR little windscreen in the front, of course, and then the color is one of the most striking things about this bike, in my opinion. That white with the red wheels, it looks fantastic. 17-inch front and rear wheels, rocking the Metzler Sport Tech tires, okay? They also did an upgrade to the clutch this year. So just pulling it around here, it feels like it engages super quickly. So I'm pretty excited to try that out. Of course, you have all the standard controls. So you have your high beam, low beam on the left-hand side on the back of the controls. You have your cruise control, and then you have your selection switches, turn signals, horn, all of that, starter switch on the right-hand side, and then of course your key in the middle. They repositioned the instrument cluster, but now it actually is rocking the ride command as well. So that's something that the sport model is going to give you. So there was a little bit of increase in price, but you are getting the ride command with the sport model. Last year's model, the instrument cluster actually came below the bars. This one, of course, is now above, so a little bit different position. And then they have the USB port right next to that. Much better position there than on some of the other Indians that I've noticed. You have a cool little, not really carbon fiber center console here, but kind of a different design with your gas cap. That leads up to your badge right there in the middle, and then of course your key right above that. You have a 3.4 gallon tank, solo seat on this one, but it does come with passenger pegs. So they've added this little cover right here where you would put a passenger seat. So if you decide to add that, that is something you can do. They also added a pretty mean looking chin spoiler underneath right below the radiator and all that. Looks pretty cool. So some of the fairings and stuff have actually been changed from the previous model. So what's cool is the way they designed the radiator. It kind of curves with the body lines of the bike. And then of course the little plastic, covers, if you will, they kind of stick out a little bit there. You have this really cool exoskeleton on the motorcycle. I like the previous years, but I really like this one because that dark gray, whatever the heck they call it, titanium, I don't know. It looks mean, dude. It looks really cool. 6-speed transmission, of course, swing arm, and then you have your license plate mount that goes back there behind the rear tire. Most people are gonna change that out. It looks a little awkward, a little goofy, but that's a pretty common upgrade on a bike like this. And then of course you have your LED brake light back here in the rear. So they also have a new updated sport muffler. And then of course you have the monoshock in the rear. Again, that's a fully adjustable ZF Zax monoshock there. And it's just got little twist knobs. So you can go from a harder feeling suspension to a softer one. I know the Oleans of last year that I rode on the FTR was actually pretty smooth considering what type of bike this is. Wasn't too firm. I don't know if it was adjusted, but regardless, man, it was pretty good. So I'm interested to see how this one will respond to the road. Okay, I'm expecting more of a sportier ride, but that kind of fits the bill here for what this is. Pretty comfy seat, but again, we'll find out more of this stuff whenever we actually hit the road. So let me go ahead and put my helmet on. Let's saddle up and take this thing through town and a little bit on the interstate. I'll see y'all in a minute. So we got the Indian FTR 1200. We've done a walk around, told you all the features. Now it's time to ride this bad boy. Now 5'7", 5'8" on a good day with a good set of boots. And fortunately, this bike is light enough. Just kind of whip it around. Ain't got to worry too much about not being able to fully flat foot. All right, 2023 Indian FTR, man, now comes with the Ride Command, which is a fantastic upgrade. Just like on the bigger bikes, gives you a lot of information, traffic updates, weather alerts, navigation, Bluetooth, all that stuff. Ride modes, of course. We have wheelie mitigation, lean sensing technology, ABS, traction control. There's a lot that goes into this thing. So this model, being the Sport, took over for the S model, and so what you get now this year is you actually get a lot of the premium features that like the Rally come with, but at 16,000. There's some things it doesn't come with, like the Olean shocks, the carbon fiber package, maybe one or two other things, but that's pretty much it. LEDs all the way around. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to move this. So what I like about the FTR, and one of the most impressive things to me last year when I rode it, is, like I said, the seating position. So it's very similar to a sport bike, but you're not leaned over a tank. That to me is the best part. So if you look at my body position, right, I am essentially staying straight up. But when I need to get into it or whatever, right there, kind of in the middle of my back, is where I am hunched just a little bit. So this is great for me. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that my back ain't the best, which is why I'm wearing this protector. But it really is, man, one of the most, actually the most comfortable sport bike that I've ever ridden, and I appreciate that, because if this is something that I was going to buy for myself, like if I wanted just a sporty kind of around town bike, it would have to be something like this, because a traditional sport bike, there's just no way. The clutch is updated, and so what I noticed, I don't know, man, I mean, I don't know how much different it is from last year, but it feels good. It engages super quickly. If you look at it, that's where it engages, right there. So it being a liquid cooled motor, if you're in some stop and go traffic, if you're commuting, it puts no pressure on your hand, dude. Now I'm in standard mode right now, and so the bike is still peppy. Like, if this is something, I was just talking to a guy that was like, man, this might be my first bike, and you know, he's like, man, I'm gonna take it easy until I get used to it. And I was like, yeah, that's, you know, that's good, man. If you're willing to do that, you know, then it could be a good, it's not the best starter bike, don't get me wrong, but if you know yourself and you know that you're willing to do that, that's great. Because then once you get comfortable and you kind of know your skill set, you can then turn your traction control off, turn your wheelie mitigation off, and really be able to have some more fun with this bike. Now, personally, popping wheelies and stuff is not exactly something I'm going to be doing, but if that's something you want to do, well, you got the option. Like I said, I do want to take this thing on the interstate, kind of see how it does out there. To me, this is not a bike that you're going to want to be taking on the interstate often, but if you're going to be commuting, well, I want to give you an idea of what it's like. Little windscreen up front, man, is not going to do anything more than make the front of the bike look good. Okay, so there's that. Don't expect too much wind deflection as far as that goes. Yeah, this thing is smooth, man. I basically feel no vibration in through my feet, very minimal through my feet, very minimal through the handlebars, even less through the handlebars. There is some bumps and stuff up here. I want to see how it kind of takes the road. I'm not sure where it's set. I imagine it's somewhere in the middle of hard and soft, right? But you're going to get a sportier feel from this either way, because that's just what it is. Yeah, I'll tell you, man, the only thing I really have to compare to this bike is the Harley Sportster S. And although the Sportster S looks good, I like the Revolution Max motor. I think it's awesome. I think it's a step in the right direction for Harley. The riding position killed me, dude. I hated that bike. I don't even think I ever even did a review on it, man. I could not stand the position. It was just, it was terribly painful, right? So that's one thing this has going for it. Still sporty, still a lot of horsepower, good amount of torque, but comfortable enough where somebody like me could actually ride it. And by the way, those brakes grab quick, and they grab strong, dude. Feels like such an easy bike to ride, especially if you just kind of take your time with it, get used to it. It really is just kind of a fun around town, just naked bike, man. Naked little sportier bike. We can change our controls. I kind of like the way this is set up, but we can of course change it here. And each mode, each little screen gives you a little bit different information, but it also, I thought each screen told you if you're in standard or sport mode or whatever. Maybe not. Maybe not. So speaking of that, go here. We're going to change it to sport mode, and then we're going to go back out. You got your current ride there if that's something you want to see. You got your maps, and then you go back. It's got the TFT display, but when the sun's beating down directly on it, and especially at the angle it's at, it's kind of hard to see, dude. But that's just with any kind of screen like this. It's got a raspy little sound, but set of pipes on this thing, I know this thing would sound good. Yeah, you don't really have any kind of a rise to the bars, but again, the way they've positioned it, it doesn't feel just, you know, kind of like this, you know what I mean? It just feels very natural. Well, let me think about this. It's not really natural, but it feels more natural, more comfortable than a traditional sport bike would. So who's this bike for, man? If you are coming from a sport bike, you like sport bikes or whatever, you want to get into a sport bike, but you're kind of like me, you're like, dude, it's just way too uncomfortable, this could be a good option for you. You know, if all your buddies are riding sport bikes and, you know, you're like, man, I'm gonna get a Harley Road Glide, you know, it's like, okay. So this could be a good option for you. Like I always say, man, bike nights around town, commuting, riding with friends, you know, and maybe even shorter, longer rides, you know, 90 miles. You go from here to Myrtle Beach, or, you know, wherever a, you know, kind of popular destination for you in your area is. That is, you know, something like that I can definitely see. You know, you got a 3.4 gallon tank, so, you know, you're not gonna get 270 miles out of it, but for what I think most people would be doing with it, yeah, I think it's plenty. Rear cylinder deactivation there, so helps keep some of that heat off of you. And one thing I will say is I'm not getting a ton of heat even when I put my leg down. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you are going to be mounting a cell phone holder like most of us are, you don't have very much space here on the bars, so you kind of have to figure that out. I guess right here would probably be the only spot, because you can't really do it over here, but your USB port is right there, so it makes it super convenient. So we're going to take it to the interstate, we're going to see how it does out there, and then I'm going to get back to the shop and tell you what I like, what I don't like, and my overall opinion on the FTR. If you're thinking about moving to Charleston, man, I would say my only advice is don't. Yeah, just that, don't. Yeah, we're full. Yep, nothing else to see here. Dude, I was in Tennessee for a freaking week. I mean, barely sat in any traffic. I mean, maybe not even once. That's so crazy. And you know what a good feeling is? When you're sweating inside of your helmet and then all of a sudden you get that cool air washing over you. Whew, man, that feels good. feel the air. Going 80, hanging on. Getting so much wind, my freaking helmet is moving around. I need a smaller size helmet apparently. Oh my God. Oh, dude. Now this is fine if you're on a commute, right? If I'm only doing this 20 minutes a day, okay. I had somebody say, man, I can't understand how you claim to like bikes but seemingly hate the wind. I'm like, what? Dude, I love the wind, but maybe not this much wind. I don't know. This would tire me the hell out. It holds the road really well though. But this is why I like big touring bikes for stuff like this. Because I could just cruise, man, 80 miles an hour and feel totally comfortable. But for what this is, I mean, it does a pretty decent job. Hey there, brother. Can I ride with you, brother? By the way, I say it in every Indian video, but I love the fact when you pull in the clutch, the gear indicator does not go away. I just want to point that out. I love that feature, dude. All right, so just got done with the test ride on the new Indian FTR, and I want to tell you about the pros first. Obviously, like I talked about on the ride, if you are somebody that's uncomfortable with traditional sport bikes being bent over a tank, but that's kind of the way you want to go. You like naked bikes, you like the sportier feel, you don't want a bag or anything like that. This is a great option because of how comfortable it really is. Surprisingly comfortable as far as the seating position and all of that. You still do get a sporty bike. Now you're not gonna get 180 horsepower like you will out of a, you know, a leader bike or something, but 120 horsepower and 87 foot-pounds of torque, this thing is no slouch. You have the different ride modes, so this is gonna give you a different feel depending if you're on the rain, you just wanna take it easy, maybe you're new to this kind of bike, or the sport mode, and that way you can open it up. You have all the technology that you would want in a bike like this. Your ABS, traction control, lean technology. The ride on it, at least the way it's set right here, it's pretty firm, but it is a sportier bike. But again, fully adjustable suspension, and it really didn't do that bad at all. The brakes on this thing are fantastic. They did make an update there. I don't know that I noticed a huge difference, but I know those Brimbos, man, they grab really well. So very nice job there. The clutch is easy to engage, liquid cooled, so you're gonna keep a lot of the heat off of you in stop and go traffic, which is cool. LED lighting. Again, I'm a fan of the white with the red contrast and the dark gray that they put on the engine components and transmission. Looks fantastic, man. The looks on this bike, I think it looks really cool, man. The addition of the ride command on the little bit cheaper option is actually a really good thing. Now it's still 16 grand, but for a bike like this, I think you're getting a pretty decent value, honestly. I believe you had to go up to the $18,000 models on the previous years to be able to get that ride command. That is almost worth the upgrade in and of itself. You know, as far as your cons, I would say probably a better seat for sure if you're gonna do some more traveling. I like that they added the passenger pegs, but I don't like the fact they didn't give you a passenger seat. It kind of completes the look in a way, but I'd really like to see a passenger seat here. And then of course you got the common things like the goofy license plate holder that pretty much everybody changes, but for what this bike is, I think they gave you some really nice upgrades from this model year to the previous. I like this thing, man. I like it for a second bike, not a primary bike, but that's just me personally, man. Love to hear what your thoughts are on the 2023 FTR. If you want to support me, you can subscribe right down below. Costs you absolutely nothing. If you want to support me further, you can join me on Patreon for as little as $1. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.